Good afternoon and welcome, everyone. We will begin in 5 minutes. Good afternoon and welcome everyone. I've got 12:30, so let's go ahead and get started. Today we have our 2011 Tier Pre-Retirement Live webinar that we're going to go through. My name is Mary Jordan. I am a Senior Benefit Counselor here at MPERS, and I will be your presenter. I just wanted to jump on real quick with my webcam to show you that I was a live person presenting today. So I am going to go ahead and turn that off and get that out of our way, get that distraction out of the way. Okay, so you should have received an email from me late yesterday afternoon that contained your retirement estimate. It also contained a troubleshooting guide for GoToWebinar. That's the platform that we're using today. And then also a link for the reference guide. We will not be following along with the reference guide for our presentation today. However, it provides much of the same information in an easy to read format. You'll also have access to it at any time on our website in the brochure section. So keep the estimate that I sent you out in front of you, at least for the first half of my presentation. We will be referencing that quite often. So let's take care of a few housekeeping items before we get started. So here's a picture of your dashboard for GoToWebinar. I wanted to mention a few things here before we get started, and this is the information that is also in that troubleshooting guide. So the dashboard is how you participate in our webinar. The first button right up here shows you how you can collapse or expand the dashboard. The next button down is for the microphones. It does show that the microphones are muted. We have muted everyone's microphones to cut down on background noise and other distractions. But then I also want to point out you do have some options for how you listen to the webinar. You can use your computer speakers, or you can call in via the phone. If you move that radio button down to the phone call, it will provide you with a phone number and an audio pin to join. If you were to lose audio during the presentation, you might try moving that radio button down to no audio and then back to computer audio. That has worked for some in the past. So down below that, we have a section for handouts. Right now, we have a link to a brochure for the deferred comp presentation that we'll have later on this afternoon. And then down at the very bottom, there is a questions section. If you hit that little down arrow there, it will show you this additional information, and it will let you type in any questions that you have during the presentation. Since we've got microphones muted, we just use that questions section for questions. So if you have questions as we go through the presentation, please type those in as we go along. I do have a moderator joining us this afternoon. Julie West is on with us, and she will be answering those questions as we go through the presentation while I continue on with the presentation. She will also, when we take breaks, she will kind of give us a summary of some of those questions that are asked and provide the answers, just to share those with the benefit of the entire group. So we will take a few breaks throughout the afternoon as well. And I also want to remind you about an evaluation survey that we have at the end of the webinar. So as always, we would really like to hear your feedback, good or bad, so we can make improvements for future groups. So at some point, either today after we finish the webinar or within the next few days, if you can go and take that evaluation survey, we would appreciate hearing from you. And last, you will receive a link to the recording of the webinar, as well as it being posted on our website in the next few days. Okay, so next I want to introduce you to our benefits team. So the goal of our webinar today is to encourage you to think about your retirement and to ask questions. If you were to contact us with any questions, chances are one of these team members is who you will be speaking to. I have been with MPERS for over 27 years in various roles and have been a benefit counselor for about the last 19 years. Julie, who is also on with us today, she has been with MPERS a little over 6 years, starting out as our communications specialist, then transitioned to a benefit counselor last fall. And then we have Bev Wilson, who has been with us over 21 years. She works a lot on special projects and auditing all the service and the benefits. So we are all available to answer any questions that will help you prepare for your retirement. Please reach out to us at any time with any of those questions. So let's go ahead and get started. But remember, we will take a few breaks as we move throughout the presentation today. Okay, so this is our agenda that we will follow today. We'll start with the pre-retirement prep. This will include discussions about the retirement plan, benefit calculation, benefit payment options, and cost of living increases or COLAs. After the break, we'll move on to the retirement two-step, where we will discuss the retirement process and forms. Then we will wrap up our presentation with discussions on post-retirement employment, divorce, death, resources, and then a few honorable mentions at the end. So let's get right to it. So I have a question for the audience. How did you prepare for our meeting today? Did you do any homework to prepare? Have you thought about much about your retirement and what you expect it to look like? We hope our discussion today will help you do just that. At the end of our discussion, we will regroup with how to put this knowledge together with all the benefits that you might have available to you when you retire. So this webinar is going to be very informative, and we'll use general communication to cover the benefit estimates in front of you. Please use this information to guide you in making an educated decision on your retirement. We will not necessarily take long periods of time to focus on your specific estimate, but we'll provide you the tools you need to better understand your options. So let's look at the retirement plans. We administer 3 different retirement plans, and which plan you're in or eligible to retire in will depend on when you were hired. And when we talk about being hired, we mean in a benefit eligible position. So if you were hired in a benefit eligible position before July 1 of 2000, you would be a member of our closed plan. If you were hired on or after July 1 of 2000, but before January 1 of 2011, you're a member of our year 2000 plan. And then if you were first hired in a benefit eligible position on or after January 1 of 2011, you would be in what we call our 2011 tier. So the closed plan and the year 2000 plan are both considered non-contributory by the member. Contributions for those plans come from the employers. 2011 tier members contribute 4% of their pay towards their retirement, in addition to the employer making those large contributions. Closed plan members, just to mention, have the option to elect to retire either in the closed plan or switch to the year 2000 plan at the time of retirement. Now, for our presentation today, we're going to be looking solely at the 2011 tier benefits. As I said earlier, this presentation will follow along with your benefit estimate. If you didn't receive one in the email, you can still view it online in your MyMPERS Secure Member Access account. So let's take a look at the estimate a little bit just to show you what we're looking at. We have your name here right below our logo information. Up in the top right corner, it shows that it's the year 2000 plan - 2011 tier. The reason it also says year 2000 plan is because there are some parts of the statute for the 2011 tier that actually use what the year 2000 plan has. So the 2011 tier is kind of a subcategory under the year 2000 plan, but there are some differences, and we're going to talk about how all of this plan will work for you. And then down the right side of that estimate, there's some personal information that we use to calculate these benefits. So the first piece of personal information you have listed there shows your date of birth and also your spouse date of birth if you gave us one when you registered for the seminar. We use that spouse date of birth to calculate some of your survivor options. Then the next section shows the type of retirement, either normal or early reduced, and then the date of retirement that you provided when you registered for the seminar. So we mentioned the type of retirement is either normal or early. So let's look at what each of those provides. First, we'll look at normal retirement. Normal retirement for civilian patrol or MoDOT employees and MoDOT employees includes the rule of 90, which means that your age has to be at least age 55. Then when we add your age and your service together, when it equals 90, you're eligible to retire. Or you could qualify to retire at age 67 with at least 5 years of service. Uniform patrol members for normal retirement are eligible at age 55 with at least 5 years of service, and they also have mandatory retirement at age 60. So we've reviewed normal retirement, but what if you can't wait that long? What if you want to retire early? There may be some options. Early retirement for civilian patrol and MoDOT employees is at age 62 with at least 10 years of service. Oh, that says it wrong. No, I said it wrong. Age 62 with at least 5 years of service. You will take a reduction in your monthly retirement benefit. That reduction will be 0.5% for every month that you retire before your normal retirement age. So as a uniform member, you don't qualify for an early retirement option in the 2011 tier. And that's because you would already qualify for normal retirement by the time you reached age 62. So remember, not everyone will have an early retirement option. If somebody came to work at a fairly young age, they may actually reach the rule of 90 before they would reach any early retirement options. And that's okay. You just don't have an early retirement option where you would be taking a reduced benefit. So how is your benefit going to be calculated when you retire? Our retirement is what's called the defined benefit plan. That means your benefit is calculated based on a formula set in state statutes. We multiply your credited service, the multiplier set by law, and your final average pay together to come up with your monthly base benefit. The benefits listed are monthly benefit amounts, and we only pay them once a month as opposed to twice a month that you receive now. So in the big picture, the more service you have and the higher your salary, the more your monthly retirement benefit will be. And we'll discuss each of these pieces of the formula. So let's start with credited service. Credited service includes membership service. It could include purchased or transferred service, and it could include unused sick leave credit. So let's break down membership service. This could include any service that you worked with MoDOT and Highway Patrol, or if you had any service that you transferred from another state agency, that could be included. Or if you've completed a service purchase, that would all be included in membership service. But let's look at some transfer and purchase options for service that you might have. So your benefit eligible service with any state agency follows you, no matter who your employer is or who your retirement system is. For example, if you have service covered under MOSERS, which is the Missouri State Employees Retirement System, you'd be eligible to transfer that service to MPERS. Once this service has been transferred, it's all going to show up under membership service. And that service would be used to figure when you're eligible to retire, as well as calculating your retirement benefit. You may also have a service purchase option that I want to mention. This option would be for non-federal public employment. This service has to be full-time. It could include city or county government, public school districts, the University of Missouri system, and even some special road districts may qualify. However, this service is limited to service that was worked within the state of Missouri. The options that you have for that purchase service may depend on whether you still have a future retirement benefit due from another retirement system. If so, you may be eligible to use the value of that future benefit to purchase some of the service with us. Either way, we'll work with you to determine your options. We can provide you with the cost of the purchase or transfer, as well as retirement estimates that would show with and without the service. This will help you determine whether it's worth it to do that purchase or transfer. If you have service available, please reach out to a benefit counselor to discuss your options. Usually, the earlier in your career that you purchase or transfer service, the less expensive it will be. A few other things to remember with purchased and transferred service. That purchase or transfer must be completed prior to starting the two-step retirement process. You also must be vested in our system before you can purchase service. It may increase your retirement benefit for that additional service, and it may allow you to retire earlier. So when you retire, we turn your unused sick leave into creditable service. It will not allow you to retire earlier, but it will be applied to your benefit when you retire. Every 168 hours equals 1 month of creditable service. Service can only be considered in full monthly increments, okay? Also remember that the sick leave amounts that are shown on your estimate are current accruals. We don't project those accruals forward to your retirement date. Therefore, any sick leave that you earn or use could adjust those totals as you continue working towards your retirement. So to tie all of that in, on our example that I'm using here, we have a total of 14 years and 28 days of membership service. Let's see how we got there. So we've got 14 years, 0 months, and 28 days of membership service. We're going to round those 28 days up and calculate a benefit on 14 years and 1 month. Anytime the days is 15 or more, we're going to round up to that next month, okay? So say in this example, on sick leave, the member only had 150 hours of sick leave when they retired. It's not the 168 hours, so therefore, there is no additional credit for their unused sick leave. Just make sure you're watching your situation to plan where you're going to be when you retire. So we're going to add all of that service credit together, and we're going to use a total of 14 years and 1 month of service to calculate the retirement benefit in this example. It is important to make sure you're aware of your insurance benefits and how your service could impact how much you pay for your insurance. Your employer will pay 2% of your medical insurance premium for every full year of service you have up to 25 years of service. This does include your sick leave credit, but they do not recognize when we round at 15 days. So contact your insurance representative for more information. Additionally, all the information on this estimate is current as of the time that we ran that retirement estimate. So now let's take a look at the multiplier. The multiplier is set out in state law. This is the one part of the benefit formula that we really don't have any control over. You can control your service by deciding how long to work and when you want to retire, and how much you're paid through promotions or job advances. But the multiplier is the one piece of the formula that we cannot change. So the multiplier in the 2011 tier is 1.7% or 0.017. You may also qualify for an additional temporary benefit in the 2011 tier, and the multiplier for that is 0.8% or 0.008. And last, let's take a look at the final average pay. Another piece of the formula, that last piece of the formula, is the final average pay. This reflects your highest 36 consecutive months of pay. However, we do consider your entire salary history when figuring this. And if you look at the bottom of this column, all the way on the right, it does show you the date range that we use to come up with that final average pay. If your estimate is projected into the future, we do not assume any pay raises or that you've worked any overtime. We will project your current base pay forward to your retirement date. So it could increase from what you see today, but it cannot go lower than the final average pay you have already earned. If you were to transfer service credit from Mosers, when your service credit gets transferred, so does your salary credit. So that salary covered under Mosers would be used in considering the final average pay here as well. So base benefit, what does all of this add up to? Let's take a look in the middle of the page on your estimate and show you how this all looks for your information so you can see that calculation. So in the middle, we show taking your credited service times the multiplier times your final average pay to come up with your lifetime monthly base benefit amount. Now remember, this is a gross benefit amount before any deductions. So let's take a closer look at that benefit calculation in action. Again, we take your credited service times the 1.7% multiplier times your final average pay to come up with that lifetime base benefit amount. But now let's talk about the temporary benefit. This plan does offer a temporary benefit if you're eligible for normal retirement prior to age 62 and you elect to retire then. We will use the same formula, just the multiplier is 0.8%. So just remember to plan for that temporary benefit to drop off when you turn 62, because you get it the month you turn 62, you do not get it the month after. So I know we haven't talked about cost of living increases yet, but just remember, you do get cost of living increases on both pieces of the benefit if you're eligible for the temporary benefit. But when that temporary benefit drops off, so do the cost of living increases on that amount. Okay. Now, my example here, the person was already over 62, so they didn't have a temporary benefit, but your estimate may look different depending on your eligibility options. Also remember, the temporary benefit is only paid to you as the retiree. It will not carry on for any survivor benefit options. So now let's take a look at those survivor benefit options, those payment options. So this is a chart in the middle of the page, a few lines below your name. When you retire, we pay you a monthly benefit for the rest of your life. The payment options tell us when you pass away, do we pay anyone else? If so, who do we pay and how much? The payment options will be listed on the far left. Then in the middle, you will see the base benefit, the retiree base benefit, and then the temporary benefit if you're eligible, then for a total benefit option. But then on the far right, that will show you the amount the survivor would receive at the time of your death based on the different options you might choose at retirement. So if you're married, you have all 5 of these options. If you're single, you're going to see a life income annuity option and then those guaranteed payment options at the end. But no matter which option you elect, the retiree will receive a monthly benefit for their lifetime. So let's take a look at the life income annuity, which is available to anyone. There is no reduction on this monthly benefit, but also there's no survivor option. That means the benefit will only be paid to the retiree, and when the retiree passes away, that benefit will stop. If you are married at the time of retirement, you will have an additional option or additional options available to you, but these are only available to the spouse named on the retirement election form if you elect that option. The first option is called a 50% joint and survivor. So the 50% joint and survivor payment option allows for the spouse of the retiree to receive 50% of the benefit if the retiree passes away. There is a reduction in the lifetime benefit based on the member's age at retirement and the age difference between the retiree and their spouse. There is no reduction in the temporary benefit because the survivor benefit would be calculated based on the base benefit only, that lifetime benefit. So it would be 50% of that retiree base benefit amount. Another option if you're married is the 100% joint and survivor option. Again, this is only available to the spouse named on the retirement election form if that option is elected. The 100% joint and survivor option allows for the spouse of a retiree to continue receiving the lifetime benefit or the retiree base benefit when the retiree passes away. There is again a reduction in the lifetime benefit based on the member's age at retirement and the age difference between the retiree and their spouse. There's again no reduction on the temporary benefit because it's not going to be paid to anyone, a survivor benefit. It's only going to be paid to the retiree. And the surviving spouse benefit would be 100% of the lifetime benefit, but it would not include that temporary benefit. So with either of the joint and survivor options, we pay the retiree for their lifetime. And when the retiree passes away, we will pay the survivor for their lifetime. So now let's look at the guaranteed monthly payment options. And these again are available to anyone regardless of their marital status. The 2011 tier offers a 120 monthly payment option or a 180 monthly payment option. 120 months is 10 years or the 180 months is 15 years. The retiree will receive the reduced base benefit for their lifetime. The reduction for the 120 months is 93%, or you get 93% of the benefit. And for the 180 months, you're going to receive 86% of your benefit. So say you pick the 120 monthly payment options, and say you pass away prior to us paying you as the retiree those 120 monthly payments. Then we will pay the remainder of those monthly payments to whoever you named as a beneficiary. But if you live longer than the 120 months, we still continue to pay you that reduced amount. But then when you pass away, the benefit would stop. So the benefit is of the guaranteed payments is you can name anyone as a beneficiary. But remember, the counting period for those number of payments starts at the time of retirement. So the survivor option will terminate after the elected guaranteed payments have been made if you live longer than those elected guaranteed payments. A quick mention, temporary benefit again is not reduced or applied to those survivor benefits, but also you can change the beneficiary anytime after retirement. You can't change the option that you elected the guaranteed payment option, but you can change who you've named as a beneficiary. And there is no life event that has to happen in order for you to make that change. So please keep in mind that once you receive your first benefit payment, the payment option you chose at retirement is the payment option you will have. However, there are 3 circumstances in which you can change the payment option after retirement. If you are single at retirement and elected the life income annuity option, later find your soulmate and get married, you have 1 year from the date of marriage to name your spouse for the survivor option. Or if you were married at the time of retirement and elected a joint and survivor option, then your spouse passes away, we would pop up your benefit, which will remove that reduction. Then if you later remarry, you will have 1 year from the date of marriage to name your new spouse for a joint and survivor option. Then the last option is based on a law change a few years ago. If you're married at the time of retirement and elected a joint and survivor option, you later divorce and submit an acceptable divorce decree or amended divorce decree that removes the spouse option so that your benefit pops up, then you later remarry. You will have 1 year from the date of marriage to name your new spouse for a joint and survivor option. So all these changes generally take effect the month following, depending on when the paperwork is received. So now let's take a look at how you can run your own retirement estimates for your MyMPERS Secure Member Access account. This can be found by going to our website, MPERS.org, and clicking on the green box in the top right corner that says MyMPERS Login. This will take you to this screen. If you already have a username and password, you can enter it here. Or if you don't have your account set up yet, click Enroll Now to set one up. To set up your account for the first time, you will need to request a PIN number to be mailed to you, and that will come snail mail. Then you can go back to the Enroll Now screen and enter the PIN number and set up your username and password. You will also be prompted to set up a multi-factor authentication, much like you use through your employer now. If you have any trouble setting up your account or getting logged in, maybe you created your account a few years ago and you don't remember the information and you can't get any of the information reset, please let us know and we can help you. So once you're signed in, everything down that left side and that left menu is everything that you can do as an active employee in your MyMPERS account. One of those options is to run a retirement estimate. It's called estimate a benefit. And that estimate that you can run will look just like the estimate that we provided you today. So if you click on that estimate a benefit button, let's zoom in on that screen. That screen will show you when you're eligible to retire. If you're eligible for early and normal retirement on different dates, it will tell you what those different retirement dates are. But then you have a few options for running the estimates. Option 1 is running them for when you're first eligible for normal or early retirement. You just use those radio buttons to move between normal or early if you have that option. Option 2 is using an anticipated date of retirement. Maybe you have a specific date in mind to retire. Maybe you want to retire when you can start receiving your Social Security benefits, or you have a different milestone to match up. Maybe you're going to go at the same time your spouse can retire. Either way, move that radio button down to option 2 and then enter in your anticipated date of retirement. You can't enter that date until you move that radio button down to option 2. Okay, then that will give you that estimate for that projected into the future retirement date. Or option 3, maybe you have a job offer outside of state government and you want to see if you leave, when would you be eligible to retire and how much would that benefit be? Well, you can do that from there. Then down at the very bottom of the page, you can enter a spouse date of birth if you're married for those survivor options. Once you do that, click Generate Estimate at the very bottom, and the estimate will generate in the same format as the estimate that you're looking at today. The completed estimate can be found under Estimate History on the left side menu. Those estimates are stored there for up to 30 days unless you specifically delete them. But note that we update salary credit, service credit, and unused sick leave twice a month with your active payrolls. This is usually around the 10th and the 25th of the month. Coincidentally, probably next Monday is when we will get the most recent payroll updated. So for anyone that may have received a raise or premium pay or a pay adjustment effective February 1st, these new amounts are not included in the estimates that you have. We will not see those adjustments until we get that new salary updated next week. Okay. So when you retire, you will receive an annual cost of living adjustment or COLA to help your benefit keep up with inflation. These lifetime COLAs are paid to 2011 tier retirees as well as survivors, beneficiaries, and most ex-spouses under a divorce award. Now, how we calculate the COLA and when it's paid is set in state law. The COLA is based on 80% of the percentage of change in the CPI-U and can range from 0 to 5%. For example, the COLA this year is 2.359%. You can find a history of our COLAs in the reference guide as well as on our website. Now, the COLAs are applied in this plan on the anniversary date of your retirement, and you'll receive the COLA every year on that same month. So let's take a look at how the COLA can help increase your monthly retirement benefit as you progress through your retirement years. So let's say your initial base benefit is $988 a month, and your initial temporary benefit was $465 a month. So starting out, that would be a total of $1,454. Let's assume you're retiring at age 60, so you'll receive that temporary benefit for 2 years. Then let's say that annual cost of living increase will be 2%. Now, this is just an average for our example here. The real COLA will vary based on the change in the CPI-U each year. So in year 2, you'll receive your first COLA. Your base benefit will increase to $1,008, and the temporary benefit increases to $474 for a total of $1,483. Now, when we get to year 3, you turn 62 and are no longer eligible for the temp benefit. So that drops off, but your base benefit continues to increase with the COLAs. It's now up to $1,028. As you progress into retirement, your base benefit continues to increase each year. When you get to year 7, your base benefit is up to $1,113 per month. Since the COLAs are compounded, when we get to year 7, for this example, that's 2% cost of living increases, and they've actually increased your total benefit over 12.6%. That is a great benefit to have those COLAs there that will increase the benefits through your years in retirement, way past the year 7. It will continue on for your lifetime, and then if you have a survivor benefit, it carries on for the survivor's lifetime as well. So let's look at another topic that we want to touch on briefly, and that's disability benefits. You might think that you won't have to use them since you're nearing retirement. However, they still could benefit you. Disability benefits are actually meant to bridge the gap between when you are no longer able to work and when you're eligible to retire. Say you're just 2 years from being eligible to retire and something happens and you can't work anymore. If you meet the eligibility requirements and continue to be disabled, you could stay on disability until you are eligible to retire. Then you would be required to switch over to retirement in most cases. So let's look at the types of disability that our plan offers. There are 3 types. First one is long-term disability. That is for any illness, injury, or disease. Next is work-related disability, and that's for any accident or injury on the job. And then the last is workplace possibilities, but that works a little bit different. The Workplace Possibilities program is actually meant to help you stay at work and get you to your retirement. So an easy example is to say that you have back trouble. You're being treated by a physician. Our disability provider can send someone to review your medical documentation and your work area. They may look at your chair and say, that's causing you a lot of trouble. They will go out and buy a new chair to help. It's at no cost to you or your employer. Okay. And that is a one-time shot, and you can't be eligible to retire yet either. So disability will not pay you 100% of your salary. It will be a reduced amount depending on which type of disability you may qualify for. Therefore, the longer you can stay at work, the more money that you'll receive in your paycheck. But if you're ever in need of the disability program or have any questions about it, please contact a benefit counselor. If you have a coworker that might be having some trouble and could use the benefit of the disability program, please send them our way so we can talk to them about it as well. All right, so let's stop here and take a break, and let's check in with Julie and see if we have any questions to go over.
Thank you, Mary. It looks like we have no questions that have come in, so keep up the good work.
Oh, great. Thank you. Well, not great that we don't have any questions, but if you do have questions, please remember to post those and Julie will review those with us and get those answered for you as the presentation goes on. So let's go ahead and take our first break. We're doing pretty good on time, so let's go ahead and take a 10-minute break. My clock shows 1:15, so let's come back at 1:25. All right, well, I have 125. So let's move on to our next section. And this next section is for the retirement two-step process. When you're ready to retire, we have a two-step retirement process. The first step is the notice of retirement. And the second step is the retirement election form. So the notice of retirement is where you tell us when you're going to retire. And then you also provide spouse information if you're married. There is also an acknowledgement down here in this red box towards the bottom right above your signature that you must check that says you do not have a prearrangement to return to work with any employer covered by MPERS or MODOT when you retire. And we'll discuss the specific details of that in a few minutes. So when you submit your notice of retirement, you can do that online through your MyMPERS Secure Member Access account, and it will go directly into our workflow to be processed. Or you can print the paper form from our website without signing in, but you'll print that paper form, fill it out, and provide that to us. If you can't find it on the website, you can reach out to us and we can email you of a copy of it as well. If you have the paper form, there is some additional information on the back. It includes the chart showing when the forms are due. Notice the deadlines. Don't miss them. If you miss the deadline, we might have to push your retirement date off. But if you look, the notice of retirement has to be submitted at least a month and a day before the effective date of your retirement. And you can only retire on the first day of the month. That is a state statute that says you can only retire on the first day of the month. So say you were going to retire May 1st of 2025. That means you could submit your notice of retirement anytime between January 1st, but we have to have it by March 31st. Then there'll be a second step that would be due by the end of April. So part of this retirement process includes submitting proof documents, acceptable proof of age documents. This can include a birth certificate or a US passport or a valid Missouri driver's license. We will need only one proof of age document for you, and if you're married, one for your spouse as well. We will also need a copy of your marriage license. Remember that we only need photocopies of these documents, and they can be submitted either with the step 1 or the step 2. We just have to have them before we can start paying you that first retirement payment. Once you submit the notice of retirement, we will turn around and send you a packet that will include all of the remaining information you will need to finalize your retirement with MPERS. This packet will include a designation of agent form. This form works like a power of attorney if you didn't already have one. It only works on your benefits with MPERS, allows you to name a primary and a secondary agent if you want. That will be able person would be able to act on your behalf if you were to become incapacitated and not able to make decisions on your own. This form will not completely take the place of a power of attorney. It just provides some options with your benefits with MPERS. This form is optional. It does not have to be completed. You can complete it now as an active employee if you wanted, or you could complete it as a retiree going through the retirement process, or even complete it later if you're not ready to do it at the time of retirement. The next form is a $5,000 beneficiary designation. When you retire, we provide you with a $5,000 death benefit at no cost as long as you retire directly from active employment. And when you retire, we just need to know who you want to name as beneficiaries. You can always change the beneficiaries at any time after retirement. It does not have to be a life event for you to be able to change those beneficiaries. The next form is a federal W-4P tax form. This is where you indicate what federal taxes you want withheld from your benefit. The next form is a Missouri W-4P substitute. This will be used to tell us if you want to have any state taxes withheld. We only withhold state taxes for the state of Missouri. If you live in another state, that is between you and them to make any state tax payments. And then the next form is a direct deposit authorization. This tells us where you want your monthly retirement benefit deposited each month. All of the forms, all of these things that you have set up as an active employee, none of those carry over to retirement. We're a completely separate payroll system, so that's why we need you to complete these forms for your retirement benefits. And then we also include a retirement estimate that has been customized based on the information that you included on your notice of retirement. So you have good numbers to be able to make the decisions on what you want to do with your benefits as far as survivor options. And last is the retirement election form. It allows you to tell us what survivor option that you want to choose in retirement. Then you will sign the bottom of the form. So any and all of our forms and supporting documents can be submitted electronically. We do not need original copies. However, we do caution against emailing Social Security numbers and banking information. Please consider using a fax machine or an encrypted email option. If you have one through your employer, that's fine to send it to, or we do have a secure document upload feature on our website that provides an encrypted email option as well. If you're emailing these documents, on the top of those forms, all of those forms, except the federal tax form, it has our email address there, MPERS@MPERS.org, that you can use to send those documents to us. Just a few additional items to remember. We only pay retirement benefits once a month. It's the last working day of the month for that month. Once you're finished with all of your paperwork with MPERS, you're finished with us. However, you're not finished with your employer. They have paperwork they need you to fill out as well. Please contact your insurance representative to discuss their paperwork. Even if you're not planning on keeping the insurance, you still need to talk to them about some paperwork that they have for you. So remember all of the deadlines, don't miss them. Also remember, your employer has different deadlines than we do, and some of those may be earlier than ours. So reach out to your insurance representative once you're ready to start that retirement process. So now let's move into my last section, and we are going to wrap it all up with a bow. So let's talk about working after retirement. When you retire, you can go to work for any non-state employer and still receive your monthly retirement benefit from MPERS. This could include a city or county government or private industry. But if you go to work in a non-benefit eligible position for the state of Missouri, that's usually working 1,040 hours a year or less than 1,040 hours a year, you can do that and still receive your benefit from us. A lot of times we hear that called working 1,000 hours. The reason you can do that is because it's non-benefit eligible. If you were to go to work for a MPERS covered employer, your benefit will be suspended while you're working, okay? And that means if it's in a benefit eligible position, you cannot receive a retirement benefit and be an active employee with any state agency covered by MPERS or MODOT at the same time. I also want to remind you of an IRS requirement with regards to reemployment with a state agency. When you're planning your retirement, you need to make sure you do not have a prearrangement to return to work with any state agency, either benefit eligible or non-benefit eligible, before you have retired. And you must have at least a 30-day break in service before returning to work with any state agency. Again, either benefit eligible or non-benefit eligible. Remember, MODOT does include some colleges and universities. So keep that in mind if you're looking at other post-employment or post-retirement employment. If you're considering going back to work post-retirement, we would encourage you to contact a benefit specialist to see how it might impact your benefit with MPERS. We do a comparison with MODOT every month to check for that. So if you have any doubt of whether it may impact your benefit with us, please reach out to us so we can talk about that ahead of time. No surprises later on if we have to stop your benefit, because if you work any portion of a month after retirement and it's for a benefit eligible position with another state agency, if you work any portion of that month, you're not allowed to get a retirement benefit for that month. They can't overlap at all. Okay. All right. So we talked earlier about what happens to your benefit if you get married. Now let's talk about what would happen if you were to get a divorce. So your retirement benefit is considered marital property. And if you were married while you were working, it can be divided by the court. So for a divorce before retirement, if you're married while you're working and get divorced while you're still working, the court could award your ex-spouse up to 50% of the retirement benefit that was earned during the period of the marriage. If it's a divorce after retirement, if you retire, you take a joint and survivor option and then get divorced, the spouse you named for the survivor option will still receive the survivor benefit when you pass away. In addition, if you were married while working, your monthly benefit can still be divided by the court. Also remember the option we talked about earlier that involved a change in the law. It took effect on January 1st of 2021. If you have a joint and survivor option and get divorced, the court can issue a divorce decree or an amended divorce decree after January 1 of 2021 that has specific language to remove your spouse from the survivor benefit and remove that future reduction in your benefit. If you are in this situation, we encourage you to contact a benefit counselor before finalizing the divorce so that we can provide the information about what needs to be included in that divorce decree. So we can get it all done with that original divorce decree and not have to have you go back to your lawyer or go back to court. So if the court divides the benefit for either before retirement or after retirement for a divorce, if they divide the benefit, they will issue what's called a division of benefits order, or a DBO, for us to pay up to 50% of the monthly retirement benefit that was earned during the period of the marriage. The DBO will terminate at the death of either party. So if either you or the ex-spouse passes away, that division of benefits does terminate. I also want to mention that you might have other options besides a DBO. That's not anything that we would be involved in, but you might be able to do what they call a property settlement. That's to say that maybe you can give your spouse the house or maybe part of your deferred comp in exchange for them not taking any of your monthly retirement benefit. Again, we don't have anything to do with that, so that's an option to talk through with your lawyer. Another thing you should remember is if you're going through a divorce or going through this process, it is that if the divorce is before retirement and a DBO is issued, a monthly benefit will not be paid to your ex-spouse until you retire and start receiving a monthly retirement benefit. So if you have any questions about these, how this would work with a divorce in your situation, if you need a divorce estimate or a sample division of benefits order, please reach out to us. We have a packet of information that we can share with you. So let's talk briefly about what happens when you pass away. So if you pass away before retirement, the spouse you're married to at the time of retirement will receive a joint and 100% survivor benefit, which is the most that they can get. They will receive that benefit for their lifetime, even if they remarry. Or if you're not married and have children under the age of 21, we will pay them a benefit until they turn 21. If you have no spouse or children under 21, there will be no survivor benefits paid. However, if there are no survivors to receive a monthly benefit, the employee contributions that you've been paying in, those 4% contributions, will be refunded to the nominated beneficiary or as specified in state law. So if you pass away after retirement, survivor benefits will be based on the elections you made at the time of retirement, keeping in mind if a pop-up happened or a new spouse was designated when eligible. After retirement, we would also pay any final payments to the designated beneficiaries as necessary, and we would pay that $5,000 death benefit if you're eligible at the time of retirement. So before we get into some other resources, I want to share with you how you can securely submit information to MPERS, like proof documents or retirement packet. So this yellow box in the top right corner says secure document upload. This process will allow you to send an encrypted email with attachments that might include personally identifiable information and banking information to us. Please do not email personally identifiable information or banking information that is not encrypted. It's not safe. It's not protected for you. You can also fax this information to us as well. We have been experiencing some periodic trouble with the fax. So if you want us to confirm receipt of a fax, please include that on the fax cover sheet as well. And when you send us an email through the secure document upload, you're going to use our main email address to send it to us, which is mpers@mpers.org. There should be a message on that screen when you go to do that. sharing that email address. And as a reminder, this is also where you can find the link to the MyMPERS Secure Member Access login. That's that green box in the top right corner there as well, just above that secure document upload. Okay, so you might be thinking, how in the world am I going to remember all of this information that we've talked about today? Well, luckily, you don't have to remember it. You just have to know where to find it. Our website has a lot of great member education pieces that are available to you. If you go to our main website, MPERS.org, and then hover over member education, there a lot of information is going to pop up. There's a section for forms. There's a section for publications that includes brochures and handbooks, the newsletters that are sent out every month. Copies of those are listed there. Then there's also a section for tools and calculators. And then you might be able to get to that secure document upload there as well. Any of the information with our, I'm sorry, this section is all under resources, not the member education. But any of the links to these recorded pre-retirement seminars, those are all found under the member education section. Okay, so a question we receive quite often is, what will my take-home pay be? When you're looking at the retirement estimates, they show you the gross benefit amounts. It's great to see that amount, but in most cases, that is not what you will be living off of. There will be deductions. So let's look at how you can figure those deductions and come up with an estimated net benefit amount. So the gross to net benefit calculator can be found in your MyMPERS account. Here it's listed at the end of that member information section and right there in blue. And it allows you to enter specific information such as your gross benefit amount, your filing status for federal taxes and withholding allowances. Now, the IRS made a few changes a few years ago to the federal tax form for what you claim with a pension benefit, which is what our retirement is. It's a pension benefit. You will no longer claim a marital status and a number of dependents. Instead, you will enter your filing status and other income amounts to determine your tax withholding. This is meant to get you closer to the actual amount of taxes that you owe, but we always recommend you contact a tax preparer to verify the correct deductions are being taken. And remember, you can always change your taxes at any time after retirement even. So once you've entered those amounts, you'll be able to see what your estimated federal taxes and state tax withholdings may be at retirement. Now, I will mention for the state of Missouri, the state of Missouri has what they call a public pension exemption that says you will not owe state taxes on the first about $48,216 that we pay you. If you're receiving a Social Security benefit, that could impact that amount. And the exception amount does change every year. It goes up based on that maximum Social Security number. So again, talk to your tax preparer about how this public pension exemption may impact your state taxes. Additional deductions that can be accounted for in the calculator are medical insurance, dental and vision insurance through Missouri Consolidated Healthcare, as well as optional life insurance. When you're meeting with your insurance representative, you're going to talk about those other insurance deductions, and they're going to give you dollar amounts for those. So when you're looking at this gross to net benefit calculator, add up all of those other deductions, those insurance deductions, you're going to enter them down here where it says other deductions. Then you press calculate, and down here where it says net benefit, it's going to show you that estimated net benefit. Okay, so those deductions that we just talked about, the medical, dental, vision, and optional life insurance, and the taxes, those are the only deductions that are eligible to be withheld from your retirement benefit. There may be other insurance premiums you have now as an active employee that you're eligible to continue into retirement, but they would not be withheld from your retirement benefit. Please contact your local insurance representative about all of your insurance deductions. There are a few deductions that you might notice that are not on this list. You do not owe Social Security taxes or Medicare taxes on your retirement benefit. If you went to go work somewhere else after retirement, you would pay those Social Security and Medicare on that, but you don't owe them on your retirement benefit, and they will not be withheld. If you participate in the deferred comp plan, you don't have a deduction coming out of your retirement check to defer into deferred comp. You can't put money into there. Now, you don't have to take your money out that you have in deferred comp. You're just not putting that money in your deferred comp from your retirement check each month. Okay, so we're kind of winding everything down here. So your MPERS benefit is just one part of your overall retirement success. There are many other things to consider. While your MPERS benefit provides some level of income, it will not serve as total income replacement in retirement. For example, if you are retiring with 14 years of service, if you multiply the years of service, 14, by the plan multiplier for the 2011 tier, which is 1.7%, your income replacement will be around 23% of your final average pay. Where is that additional 77% going to come from? So hopefully by this point, you will have some kind of personal savings built up, maybe through deferred comp or a different savings vehicle. This will help supplement your retirement income. Another additional source of income could be Social Security. You may be eligible to draw early reduced Social Security at age 62, or maybe you could wait and draw it years down the road. However, until you're eligible to draw, there may be a bit of a gap in your retirement income. Will you have the temporary benefit to help fill that gap? Otherwise, where will you have an income to fill that gap? What are your plans for health insurance? Are you going to continue your MoDOT and patrol insurance into retirement? Or do you have other plans? Health, dental, vision, and life insurance premiums are all eligible to be deducted from your retirement benefit. But keep in mind that health insurance premiums will increase at retirement and could increase after retirement. Dental and vision insurance premiums have the potential to increase. However, they're not subsidized by the state, so those increases will be most likely be minimal. Optional life insurance premiums will also increase as you reach those 5-year milestones. So at retirement, we will have you complete W-4P tax forms for withholding from your MPERS retirement benefit. However, this doesn't take into consideration any other sources of income you may have. The only tax advice we can give is to speak with your tax professional regarding any of your tax questions. However, keep in mind that if you need to make adjustments to your withholding on your retirement benefit, you can do that anytime throughout the year via your MyMPERS Secure Member Access account. or by completing a paper form and submitting it to MPERS. Another consideration is to prepare a budget. Knowing what your monthly expenses are going to be versus income that you have coming in is important. It is important regardless regardless if you are retired or actively employed. So the last part is to continue to ask questions. Our staff is here for you for questions regarding your MPERS benefit. In the back of your pre-retirement reference guide, there is a list of benefit providers and contact information. If you have questions regarding your health insurance, dental and vision, deferred comp, your Social Security, cafeteria plan, all of those benefits, all of their contact information is listed there for your convenience. It's the same contact information you can use as an active employee as well. Additionally, if you would like to make an appointment for a personal counseling session with a benefit counselor, we're more than happy to meet with you to discuss all of this information. You can call us, you can email us, we can do a virtual appointment, or we can do an in-person if you're in Jefferson City or if you happen to be traveling to Jefferson City. So we want you to keep all of these pieces of your retirement in mind. When will these income sources be available to you? And how will they change as you progress through your years in retirement? Do you have the family plan for medical insurance now? When will you be able to drop the family plan down? How will you pay for it while you do still have it? Because the cost goes up when you retire on that medical insurance. We cannot stress enough to look at a budget. How much money do you spend now and what are you spending it on? Will those expenses change in retirement? Will they go up or will they go down? What do you want to do when you retire? Do you plan to travel? And if so, how are you going to pay for that travel? Are you going to keep your home base where you have now, but then travel around? Or are you going to kind of sell out where you're at and just travel full time? Think about those expenses that go along with what you want to do in retirement. That's where we go back to, what does retirement look like for you? What do you want to do in retirement? Okay, so we've talked about a lot of information today. So let's check in with Julie again and see if she has any questions she wants to review with the group. Julie?
All right, thank you, Mary. So there's just been a few questions come in. A couple of them have been pretty specific to someone, so I'm just going to kind of generalize it. If you have previous service that's non-federal public service and you're wondering what it would cost to purchase the service, how it would impact your benefit, or even if that service is eligible to be purchased, call our office, either email us or give us a call. There is a process that we have to go through to verify that the service meets the criteria for purchase, and then we can go for there. So just kind of keep that in mind if that's something that's kind of in the back of your mind, that you may have previous service that you want to consider purchasing and would like to know how it can impact your benefit. If you have prior MOSERS or service under the Missouri State Employees Retirement System, and you're curious as to if that has already been transferred to us, then you can give us a call and we can tell you if it has been transferred or not. It won't really show up on your estimate separately. If it's already been transferred, it will show up, it'll be included in that membership service, that credited service part. So if you're curious about that as well, just give us a call, send us an email at benefits@mpers.org, and we're happy to look into that for you. One question that's interesting, and I'm not entirely sure the answer to this, so Mary, you might be able to chime in on this, but someone asked if the public pension exemption applies to a Minnesota pension. So my response was you'd really probably have to check with the Minnesota Department of Revenue to see if they have a public pension exemption. But I know that for some of our retirees who do not live in the state, they don't pay state taxes on their retirement benefit because they no longer live in the state. So would the Minnesota pension, though, be taxable in Missouri? I don't know. I don't know. So Mary, I don't know if you have any thoughts or insight on that, but
That's a good question,
it is.
and I am not sure of that answer either, but we're not the system that would make that determination either. That would be up to the Missouri Department of Revenue, like you said, Julie, to decide whether if there is a Minnesota public pension that they're receiving, whether that would also qualify under the Missouri public pension exemption if for somebody living in the state of Missouri. So I would recommend going to Department of Revenue's website and contacting them or talk to a tax preparer for that specific information.
Yeah. Yeah. So our Department of Revenue in Missouri or Minnesota's, because Minnesota's might be able to tell you as well. I have no idea. It's just a shot in the dark there. But that was actually the only questions really that I had. So they were good questions. And there's some I need to follow up with, which that's perfectly fine. And so I will hand it back to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Julie. And yeah, keep those questions coming on there. As we go through the other presentations this afternoon, you can post questions for them. You can always post questions for us for the MPERS portion, even as we continue on, or you can always email us or call us later as well. So let's kind of wrap up my last few slides here. Don't forget about the evaluation form that you're going to get. We do value and appreciate any and all feedback you may have regarding the seminar, the speakers, the content. We will send you a link after you log out of the webinar today. We'll provide a link to that evaluation. And then I believe we also send a reminder within the next few days to complete that evaluation. So we would appreciate you taking a few minutes to share your feedback with us so we can keep the good information coming to all of you and in future members that are eligible to attend. So this does finish up my portion of the presentation today. Thank you for attending and being such attentive listeners. We appreciate the questions that you have shared with us as we went through. If you have additional questions, please reach out to us. Our contact information is on the back cover of the reference guide, as well as on the screen that you see in front of you there. Again, remember that email address, benefits@mpers.org. That is the best way to get a hold of our benefits team that we looked at on that first couple slides, that will be able to answer any questions for you. Additionally, if you're on social media, we are on Facebook, X, YouTube, LinkedIn, and I think you can find us looking for MPERS online. So let's go ahead and take another break before we switch over to our next presenter. We are running pretty good on time, so I'm going to go ahead and do another 10-minute break. So let me look at my clock. Well, I've got about 2:04. Let's come back at 2:15. I'm going to let this clock run out here. And then when it runs out, that'll give us an extra minute or so to get us switched over to our next presenter, which I think is going to be David Gibson from Deferred Comp. But go ahead and take a break and we'll see you at 2:15. Okay, David, I am going to go ahead and turn everything over to you.
Sounds great. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so hopefully we have everybody back from break. So we went through and talked about all the information about your benefits that you receive from MPERS, but what about the benefits that you have available to you for anything that you've been contributing or participating with the state of Missouri Deferred Compensation Plan? We have an excellent resource on that information available to talk to you today. So I will turn it over to David.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for letting me jump in and join you for a little bit today. I am going to kick my camera on. I think it's populated. Hopefully that worked and you can hear me okay. And I'm going to be sharing my screen here. So I wanted to start with our website, modeferredcomp.org. So the web address is simply MO, the word deferred, comp, C-O-M-P, .org. If you're not used to looking at the website, if you go to Google, for example, and type in MODEF, probably before you can finish typing out the word deferred, it'll pop up in Google. If you have been to our website, but not recently, all of a sudden you're looking at my screen thinking, well, that doesn't look right. Well, we just updated our website a couple weeks ago. So this is the brand new refreshed version. And information on the website's the same as in the past, but the layout is a little bit different. So I wanted to mention our website. We have a great website. You don't have to log in to use it, although there's a tab up here at the top right of center where you can log into your State of Missouri Deferred Comp Plan account. And the event registration tab is where my schedule's built out about a month in advance for web appointments. Could be in follow-up to today or anything. And then, our group deferred comp, we have webinars on a variety of topics. I'll mention a few today that may be of interest to you. And we do send emails about those, but you get so darn many emails, you don't always see those. So they're posted under this tab about every quarter. So you just have to scroll through the pages. Now, at these tabs, you'll notice different drop downs occur. And this is where you find our deferred comp team. And I'm going to provide this information when we wrap up today, but it's also on the website under Learn and Education Professionals. So this is our team. And I'll give you this information and some more discussion when we wrap up today. The resource tab, we have some awesome calculators you can access right here. We can help you with those in appointments. If you ever need a form for deferred comp, it's right here. And this publications tab is great. I want to mention it. We do have a handout for you today that'll go along with the webinar that I'll be going through presentation today. But this particular document here is specific to the State of Missouri Deferred Comp Plan. So that's called our plan overview. And in our deferred comp plan, you can make contributions pre-tax and or after-tax. We call that after-tax the Roth. This is a really powerful concept in retirement planning. If you're not up to speed on it, you might look at the publications. And this is also the topic of the webinar that we host about every quarter. So you might catch that webinar. And then by nature of being on today's webinar, this section called retirement planning, the publications in this group are targeted specifically for the stage of planning you're in. So there could be some information in here that's helpful. A couple of really great pieces in here on Social Security, by the way. When you're retired someday and you're needing to withdraw some money, there's some publications about that. And if you find yourself logged in and you need some help on how to perform a more common function like change a contribution or beneficiary, things like that, we have some publications, have some help guides. Now, I know you have more to do than attend webinars, but this is another webinar that you might find helpful called simply How To. And we'll take you from the basics of how to log in the first place and then how to perform more common functions once you're logged into your deferred comp account. At the very bottom of our website, our deferred comp office is in Jeff City on American Avenue. And here's the 800 number for our service team. And I'll provide that again as we wrap up this afternoon. The landing page on the deferred comp plan itself, as you move down on the pages, we have a lot of different videos on different topics. This section in here is, these are usually pretty funny, by the way. You might enjoy catching a few of these. And then scrolling on down again to the very bottom is our contact team information. So that's just a little bit of quick information on the web tour. If you've been with me on other webinars, for example, you've been through this, I appreciate your patience. If you're not used to the website, there might be some information there that'll be helpful to you. I'm going to kick over into PowerPoint presentation for this afternoon to discuss information that should be helpful and important as you transition into retirement. I'm going to shut my camera off as I do this. You know, if I have my camera on, sometimes it can mess things up, and I don't want to get us in a rabbit hole I can't get out of. So I did want to introduce myself because I realized today we have folks from across the footprint joining, but I'm going to go ahead and shut the camera down and transition over into the actual PowerPoint presentation for today. And then we'll see if we get this to come up correctly. We do have this information where it is, you know, where we have information on speaking, because sometimes we have people on the webinars that have hearing issues. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that on. Some people find it a little bit distracting, but it is helpful if you happen to be hearing impaired to have this information provided. So I'll do that. As we go along today, if you have questions, feel free to submit those. We'll probably take those as we wrap up today versus on the fly. Kind of an outline of what we're going to spend some time on today is the, you know, where's your income going to come from in retirement, and a little bit of information about deferred comp and some other important information to know as you transition into retirement. Mary's done a great job talking about your pension. You know, it's pretty amazing benefit. If this is your first time joining a pre-retirement workshop, then it might have been an eye-opening. But, you know, if you think about it, you go to work for the state of Missouri and you just automatically get this benefit. You never sign up or enroll, you just get it. MPERS is the group that administers your pension. And this benefit is a guaranteed monthly lifetime income with the cost of living adjustment, and it's figured by a formula, see? Yeah, so once you hit 5 years, you're vested, and then Mary mentioned earlier, you know, like if you multiply years of service times the factor 1.7%, it gives you a gauge on how much of your income the pension is going to replace. So in about 20, 30 years, you know, you're looking at 30, 40, 50% income replacement. So obviously, years of service is the carrot. We're not trying to get you to come to work 5 years and leave. We're trying to keep you 20 or 30. So this is an amazing benefit. Very rare, by the way, among employers in society nowadays, but we have a pension here at the state. And then if you think about it, Social Security is also a guaranteed monthly lifetime income. It's calculated by a formula. It also has a cost of living adjustment. And, you know, depending on your age, could be more like 20, 25% income replacement. Certainly, if you're under age 50, might want to use that. If you happen to be joining today and you're 50, 55 or older, you might use a gauge of about 30, 33% income replacement from Social Security. I think today there is a Social Security representative that'll cover one of the modules for you. But if not, remember on the web tour, under planning and tools, I mentioned the publications tab, and then there's a section in there called retirement planning and a couple great pieces on Social Security in there. And then also there's the state of Missouri Deferred Comp plan. So, you know, you have 2 retirement benefits as a state employee, have an amazing amount of really, really great benefits, but we're focusing on retirement today. So you have the pension, that's one, and then the second retirement benefit is called the state of Missouri Deferred Comp plan. And you know, with deferred comp plan, we do not have any vesting schedules and we do not have any formulas. The deferred comp plan is strictly about contributions. So obviously, the more contributions you put into your deferred comp plan, the bigger the balance someday. So this is going to be representing your income stream someday when you retire and quit working. And although you might think with the pension replacing 35, 45% of your income, and Social Security maybe another 20 to 30, you've got 60, 70% potentially income replacement already, and that would be more than enough. So it might be, but when you retire, we're going to survey you, and we appreciate your help. And when we survey our retirees, they're telling us, to a large degree, when I retire, my expenses are about the same. They're very different, make no mistake about it. But I have people all the time tell me in appointments, David, I paid off my mortgage. I don't have an $800 house payment, but now I found out my health insurance is $600 a month. So we want you to have a heads up here going into retirement that net, your expenses might be more similar in retirement than you were anticipating. Now, I don't mind you being the Walmart greeter, but I want to show you how to not have to be the Walmart greeter. Okay, so we're kind of going to approach this from Retirement Planning 101. And so in retirement planning, you'll establish what we call your target income replacement rate. And based on these surveys, we think it ought to be at least 85%. Some of our participants use 90%, some 100, but you have to pick a number. So let's suppose you picked 85, and then you found your pension and Social Security was going to replace 65. Well, there's a gap of 20%, and that's what you're trying to fill. That's where the state of Missouri Deferred Comp plan comes in, and that's how you prevent becoming the Walmart greeter. So when you come to work for the state of Missouri, first time ever, we automatically enroll you into Deferred Comp plan. If for some reason we did not auto enroll you because you were a rehire or for some reason you're not participating, you can enroll any day of the week and you can make any changes anytime you want, as often as you want. Our Deferred Comp plan does not follow other benefits that you have, like health and dental, and that you can only change once a year during open enrollment. So with Deferred Comp, you can enroll anytime and you can make any change anytime and as often as you want. A plan was actually established back in '74. Technically, it's voluntary, but we have great participation across the footprint. And when you're new, we auto enroll you at our plan minimum 1%, and we auto enroll you pre-tax. Now, there are a couple problems here that I want to point out. One of them is that 1% is not the correct amount to save for your retirement. If you stay at 1%, you're probably going to be the Walmart greeter. And then the other is these pre-tax contributions. There might be a better option called this Roth, where you can contribute after tax. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. The other potential issue here is if your contributions are at our plan minimum 1%, your contribution may not be enough to capture the full state match, which we'll talk about here in just a second. So a couple issues here on this. We encourage contributing as a percentage of pay, although you can do fixed dollar if you personally prefer that. But when people do percentage of pay, they always end up with bigger balances. It automates the process. And, if you happen to be with MoDOT, for example, and you're working overtime and you're doing percentage, then as you have higher wages, you're doing a higher dollar amount of contribution just because you're doing percent. If you're contributing 50 a pay period, you're doing 50 a pay period, regardless of what your income is that cycle or month. Now, I mentioned that contributions can be pre-tax. This is where you make the contribution pre-tax, money's accumulating, and someday when you take it out, you declare as income, then you'll pay tax. So if you think you're in a high tax bracket for some reason, or you need tax deductions, or you think in the future, whatever that might be, 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now, tax rates will be lower, then pre-tax would probably be what you'd prefer. But we amended our plan some years ago. It's probably been about 15 years ago. And we have this Roth feature. Now, not all retirement plans have this, but we do. And this is where, if you want to, you can make contributions with after-tax money versus pre-tax. And this money accumulates, but now it represents a source of money that is tax-free when you take it out. And remember, in our retirement planning discussion, a lot of times the reason people accumulate money in deferred comp in the first place is so that they can draw some income to supplement the pension and Social Security. And if it's a Roth balance in your deferred comp plan, from which I'm sending you a check every month for a change, now we're talking about tax-free cash flow, maybe 20, 30 years, who knows? I mean, it's mind-boggling. Our state of Missouri deferred comp plan is referred to as a 457 plan. I have sometimes new folks working here at the state ask me, what's up with this 457, David? I used to have a 401k, or my spouse has a 401k. So the 457 plan is the only retirement plan in America where your friends at the IRS never, ever at any age assess that 10% penalty on a withdrawal from a retirement plan that you've heard about. We have a lot of folks retire from the state before age 60, and the way we've designed our plan, you're able to access your contributions in the 457 plan, and there's never the penalty. Now, if you put pre-tax money in, it's subject to tax, but if it's Roth money, it's tax-free. But the point is never a penalty, period. Now, keep in mind, you do have to be separated from the state and able to take the withdrawal in the first place. I'm happy to talk about our state match. It started about 2.5, 3 years ago. If you happen to be joining today and you were around 15, 16 years ago, we used to have a match. Then we lost it literally for 15 or 16 years. And then it started again about 2.5 years ago. So the way the match works is you have to be participating in deferred comp in the first place to be eligible. And then the minimum is $25 a month, so you have to contribute $12.50 per pay period. But the match is progressive up to $75 a month, which is $37.50 per pay period. So back to that auto enrolling at 1%, let's suppose you're contributing $20 a pay period, $40 a month. Well, you're getting the match, but you're getting $40 where the state is happy to give you $75 if you'll just take it. So if you're not participating in deferred comp, you want to get in the game. And if your contributions are not at a level of at least $37.50 per pay period, you need to look at that budget and find a way to get those contributions increased. In percentages, that's probably going to be 1.5%, 2%. Now, remember, 1% is not the correct amount to save for retirement. That's pretty much going to assure you're going to be the Walmart greeter. But I also want to mention $37.50 is not the correct number either. And you know, I talked about those calculators on the web tour, so we can help you in appointments determine what amount you should be contributing. A lot of factors influence that. You know, the more years of service you put in the pension, the more that does the heavy lifting. So remember that. And when you start getting 20 and 23 and 25 and 28 and 30 years of service in that pension system, and it alone is replacing 40, 50% of your income, then sometimes the amount you want to contribute to deferred, you might get away with 5, 7%. Now, if you're coming to work here later as a second career and you're working, you know, 5 or 7 or 10 years, that's a different conversation, of course, but we can figure it out. But you do want to make sure you're participating and you're at minimum of $37.50 or equivalent per pay period. And remember, with deferred comp, we have no formulas. So, you know, if you put in 50 a pay period, guess what? You have more balance in the future than if you do 40. And if you do 40, guess what? More than $37.50. Now, if you log in your state of Missouri deferred comp plan, you'll notice you have a 401 account. Remember, I was talking about your contributions we keep track of in the 457. But the state match, we're not able to put in that 457. So we keep track of the state match in what's called a 401 account. Now, we have no vesting schedule, so you immediately own the state match 100% from day one. And of course, you always own your contributions 100% from day one. But they're two separate accounts where that money's tracked. And that'll kind of come into play and make sense here in a minute when we start talking about penalties a little bit later, because that state match money in that 401 would be like any retirement plan and subject to that 10% penalty on a withdrawal prior to 59.5, unless you meet some exceptions I'm going to tell you about. Now, you know, our plan wins awards year after year as one of the very, very top retirement plans in all of America for a variety of reasons. Like we have that Roth feature, which I mentioned is not common, but we have it. We have another amazing feature that is really rare, but we have it, called a brokerage link or brokerage window. And this is particularly helpful to people in the accumulation phase, if they're more self-directed and they might want to invest some of the deferred comp in, say, individual stocks or some specialty mutual fund or exchange traded fund or something like that. But we also find this brokerage link an attractive feature in our plan for participants as they get into this transition phase of retirement planning. In the perfect world, that's about a 3 to 5 year window. And that's where you're at, by the way, by nature of being at this webinar today. And then you're going to go into the third and final stage of retirement planning that I call the distribution phase, where you're going to spend money instead of save money. And this brokerage link will be attractive to access what are called fixed income instruments. Those are things like treasury bonds or corporate bonds or even a CD at a bank that's FDIC insured. I mean, who would ever think you could buy CDs through a deferred comp plan, but you can. And then another reason, without question, that we win these awards is our amazing low fees. You know, when you look at our administrative expense, it's a whopping $1 per month. I mean, goodness, I hope you get $1 worth out of today's presentation. And then asset charge 0.09, it's less than 1/10 of 1%. And then expense ratio, as it's called, the investment fee on the target fund or the stable income. When we package this together, it's less than 1/4 of 1%. Now, if I didn't have my slide up here, you might wonder, well, is that pretty good or average? We benchmark our deferred comp plan from a fee standpoint against other retirement plans in America, like 401ks and stuff, and pretty compelling story to say the least. And let me tell you something, the fee drag on your balance can impact greatly what that balance is in the future. I mean, you could be missing $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 out of an account balance just because you're paying higher fees than necessary on accounts that you've chosen to have wherever you have them. And keep in mind that, you know, IRA fees are usually much, much higher than what I'm showing you on this screen. The other thing about these fees that are important to understand, when you start spending money someday, that fee drag on your balance could cause you to run out of money before you run out of time. So it is important to be aware of fees and expenses you're paying on accounts you have. So if you have like an old 401k from a previous job or an IRA you set up along the road of life, you might have us help you evaluate the fees if you want to, and you can transfer retirement type money into deferred if you want to. A lot of people do that for a variety of reasons. You know, it helps consolidate, makes it easier to keep track of everything and manage it, but without question, it will help reduce fees and expenses. I mentioned earlier, we set the minimum that you have to contribute into deferred comp. Your friends at the IRS set the maximum you can contribute, and it changes every year and it tends to go up a little bit. 23.5 this year. If you're in the club, it's 31,000. And then for the first time ever, there's a new catch-up provision only for age 60 to 63 that would let us get you up to 34,750 if need be. So if we need to discuss these contribution maximums, get a hold of us and we'll look at options for you on that. I want to mention the structure of your account, and I'm going to use some terminology. I want to make sure you catch on to the terminology because this will make it easier to understand the discussion we're moving towards taxes and penalties in just a minute. So remember, you have two separate accounts. You have this 457, and that's where we keep track of your contributions. They could be pre-tax and or they could be after tax, known as the Roth, but contributions only have one place, and that's the 457. When you retire, if you have annual leave built up, first strategy to consider with that dollar is to prepay medical expenses in the first year of retirement. It doesn't work well if you're retiring on the end of the year, but it might on the front side. If you're not going to be using our medical insurance, then that would not work. You can always take the money, which is taxable, but you can also dump it back into deferred, which is a non-taxable event. Now, that source of money, and you're going to hear me using the word source, that annual leave, that source of money, we look at it or treat it the same as contributions that you've made. So those contributions you're making out of your payroll and this annual leave you may want to dump in, they have to stay within these IRS limits in the particular year you retire. If you have transferred money into deferred comp, we call that a rollover. So that source of money is referred to as a rollover. Now those dollars are housed inside that 457 account, but it's a separate source of money. And that would be like if you transferred in an old 401k or an IRA, things like that. Then you have this 401 account, and what's the money in there, remember, is that employer match money. So two accounts, 457, the money in there is contributions, could be pre-tax or Roth, and annually, should you dump any in there, and if you transfer any money in, it's housed inside that 457, but that transferred money is referred to as a rollover source. And then you have this 401 account, and the money in there is what you picked up from the state match plus earnings. On that annual leave, again, if you want to put that money into deferred comp, you can do that. We count it or treat it the same as a contribution as far as the source of money. And I know Mary spent some time talking to you about issues if you come back to work for the state of Missouri after you've retired. But I want to visit with you about how deferred comp views this, because it's different. So if you return to work anywhere in the state of Missouri, regardless of if it's benefit eligible or not, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many hours. If you're getting a paycheck somewhere from the state of Missouri, and it does have to be state of Missouri, then we in deferred comp consider you active, not retired. So what this is going to mean is the money that's in your account, like your contributions, annual leave you might have dumped in because we think it's a contribution, or that state match money, you're not going to be able to take withdrawals from those sources of money if we think you're active. As we'll discuss in a minute, if your status is retired, there's no restrictions ever of any kind on withdrawals. But if your status is active, no withdrawals. So kind of keep that in mind. Even if you come back to work, non-benefit eligible position, 1,000 hours a year or less, and it doesn't mess up your pension issues, it is going to be different with deferred comp, where we consider you active. Now, the good news is, since we think you're active, guess what? You can contribute to deferred comp, and you should do that at a minimum of $37.50 per pay period, and that way you'll pick up that state match. Had you transferred money into deferred, maybe an old 401k IRA, those sources of money, there's that word again, that rollover source, is always available regardless of your status. So it's a little bit different coming back to work. What'll happen is you'll apply for official retirement with MPERS, and MPERS will tell us in deferred comp the big news about your retirement. And so we automatically update your status from active to retired, and that happens in the middle of the first month of retirement. So you might jot that down, middle of the first month, not the first day. So don't be calling us about a withdrawal day one of retirement. It's not going to happen. It's middle of the month, and we'll update that status automatically. Your final paycheck will automatically stop your contributions. So there really is no forms to fill out with us in deferred comp. You don't even have to tell us you're retiring. About the only housekeeping item, and this is real important, by the way, is make sure you update your email address with deferred comp. We have a lot of participants updating email address with MPERS, and they either think that update's deferred or they forget about us. So those are two different retirement plans, remember. So make sure you update your email with me as well. Once we get your status updated, as I mentioned, there's no restrictions on withdrawals ever. If you want to lump sum cash in your plan, you can do that. Probably not a smart idea, but you can. You could take partial withdrawals. If you need reoccurring income, we call those systematic withdrawals, like every other week you want a check, or once a month, once a quarter, whatever, we can make it happen, no restrictions. If you want to transfer money from deferred to, say, an IRA or a new 401k to a new job or something like that, you can do that. A rollover out of the plan is a non-taxable event, where a lump sum surrender or cash in is a taxable event. Do me a favor and make a note. If we close your plan because you did a lump sum cash in, or we did a transfer out, if we close the deferred comp plan, I am not able to reopen it. So remember that. If some advisor gets your ear and wants you to transfer your plan to an IRA so they can help you when you retire, you might want to leave a little bit behind in deferred. And that way, if this great idea this advisor has blows up on you, what's left, you can at least transfer back. So we close the plan out 100%, we're not able to reopen it. Remember that. When you get to wanting a distribution, there's two ways to do that. You can call our service team at that 800 number, very bottom of the website on the left side of the page. Or you could log in your state of Missouri deferred comp plan and do the distribution yourself. It's quite simple. And at our website, modeferredcomp.org, at the top right of center is the tab to log into deferred comp. Let's take a few minutes and talk about taxes, not penalties, but let's talk about taxes first. So, if you have pre-tax money in deferred comp because you choose to make contributions pre-tax and you dump annual leave in, then this money that's in deferred comp, the state match money in the 401, for example, any money that's pre-tax is subject to federal and state income tax when you take it out. Your friends at the IRS require we withhold 20% towards that federal tax. Do understand, please, that deferred comp is not some special type of money clipped at a 20% rate. That's just the number the IRS picked. If your tax rate was 15%, you get a refund. If it's 25, you owe. Now, with state of Missouri, we're happy to withhold if you want us to, but we're not required to. But the withdrawal is subject to tax. Remember that. And again, you have to be separated from service in the first place to do the withdrawal. If you've accumulated Roth money, that is tax-free. Remember that. So the contributions are always recovered tax-free, no exceptions. But the reason or the power behind this Roth, if you're not up to speed on it, you'll learn, is not just getting the contribution back tax-free, but getting all the earnings that accumulate. So the deal with the IRS is you have to have your Roth account 5 years and be 59.5. And when you hit those qualifiers, it's as if the IRS steps into your life and waves their magic wand over your account, and they forgive all the taxes on the earnings. And get this, they forgive the taxes on the earnings the rest of your life. It's mind-boggling. Now, penalties are different. So remember, your contributions, be they pre-tax or Roth, that annual leave money you might have dumped in deferred comp, all the earnings that have piled up, the money that's in that 457, those sources of money are never, ever subject to that 10% penalty. But that employer match money in the 401 and money you may have transferred in from an old 401k, for example, those sources of money are subject to that 10% penalty unless you meet this exceptions. And one of them is called age 55 separation of service. Make a note, make sure you understand these exceptions I'm about to tell you about apply to deferred comp. They do not apply to old 401ks. They absolutely do not apply to IRA accounts. So if you happen to be 55 or older in the year you separate, doesn't have to be at the time, the penalty, 10%, is waived on those other sources of money, like your state match money you transferred in, things like that. There is a special public safety exemption that drops down to age 50. So that would be like a highway patrol, for example. These exceptions, again, apply to deferred, not to like money in an old 401k from once upon a time. So sometimes, people say, well, look, if I transfer this old 401, I had this job, I had money in a 401k, I left when I was 45, but I'm working for the state, I'm going to retire and I'm 57. If I go back to that old 401k to pull money, I'm going to pay the penalty. But what if I transferred it into deferred and you guys in deferred paid it back out to me? Yeah, you figured it out. There's no penalty. So kind of keep these strategies in mind. If you need to visit more about that, let us know. When you turn 73, again, your friends at the IRS, not deferred comp, require you start taking what's known as a required minimum distribution, RMD. This does not apply to Roth money, so remember that. So there's another interesting little tweak about that retirement concept or that Roth concept. And we'll contact you and do the calculation and take care of it for you. So I just wanted to mention that. Anytime you take a distribution out of deferred comp, we'll send you what's referred to as a 1099 at the end of the year. And you'll use that to complete your taxes if you do it yourself, like on TurboTax or something like that, or just give that form to your accountant, they'll know what to do with it. Now you notice here on this slide, there's mention about this 1099 comes from our record keeper. Their name is called Vantage Point Transfer Agent. And I wanted to kind of mention that here in passing because we're in the process of changing our record keeper. And this will be sometime like the late third quarter or the early fourth quarter of 2025. We're going to transition from Mission Square Vantage Point to a new organization called Voya, and that will be our record keeper. Now, this really doesn't matter to you who the record keeper is. Periodically, we go out to bid, and that way we make sure that your fees and expenses are a bare minimum on the deferred comp plan. So most organizations periodically change record keepers, and we've been with Mission Square for about 10 or 12 years, but before that, I think it was Nationwide, and before that, it might have been Voya. But I just wanted to mention that in passing, because you could end up getting a 1099 at the end of 2025 if you were retiring this year in, say, Voya, not Mission Square or Vantage Point. More to come on this, and you won't have to do anything. I just wanted to mention that while I had you today. So, we were talking about on the web tour of these calculators, and here's a screenshot of a great calculator we have called Retirement Track. You're at this phase of planning where this calculator would be something you should start utilizing. And again, if you need help with it, we can do that in an appointment, phone, web, or in person. And then a lot of great videos, of course, and we encourage a minimum once a year. We have appointments, and you can even do that in retirement, and we do encourage that in retirement. And then kind of a checklist here. I know you pretty well figured you knocked off all the to-do items on your New Year's resolution list, so congratulations, but now I'm going to have to put some more on there for you. Kind of take a peek at these calculators and start working towards having a budget. When we start working with you to help look at retirement withdrawal strategies, knowing what kind of an expense are we trying to cover, a fixed versus discretionary, and having a budget tells you that is real important. And so if you have a budget, congratulations. If not, maybe consider that as a New Year's resolution to start creating a budget for yourself. And then, if you're not participating in deferred comp, by all means, get in the game so you get that match. If you're not at 37.50, get there. And then keep in mind, though, that the actual correct amount to probably save is more around 125, 150, 200 a pay period, not 1% or 37.50. Kind of be aware when you take withdrawals about taxes and penalties always, and do me a favor and check your beneficiaries. I hope you spend this money and have a good time, but if not, I need to know who to give it to. You'd be surprised how often when I meet with you and we pull up your account, there's no beneficiary listed or it's wrong. So do this. You can log in your account and check it, or call our service team on the 800 number I'll give you in a minute, and we can do it by phone. And then if you haven't talked to one of our representatives in maybe a year or so, let's make sure we get an appointment and do that. I mentioned earlier our team on the web tour. This is more detailed information. Don is in Jeff City and covers specific agencies in Jeff, and then Don covers all the agencies in the South Central region. And then Kate is in Jeff City and covers specific agencies in Jeff, and then all the agencies in the Northeast region. And Tamara is in St. Louis and covers all agencies in the Southeast region. Rhonda's in Jeff City, covers specific agencies in Jeff, and then all agencies in the Central region, which is gold on the map. And Jesse covers all the agencies in the Southwest region. And I'm actually in Kansas City, and I cover all the agencies in the Northwest region. So if you need some help or follow-up, I might be limited to phone or web appointment if you're not in the Northwest region. And And if you prefer to hook up with one of my colleagues in your area of the state, you're not going to hurt my feelings, so that's perfectly fine as well. And everyone's email, phone numbers, again, are at the very bottom of our website. So that sort of covers the information that I wanted to kind of review today. Find that what we talked about is usually helpful as people are thinking about transitioning into retirement. And certainly if this is your first meeting and retirement itself might be 2 or 4 or 5 years from now, I'll make sure you circle back minimum 2 times to attend these meetings, and the more the better. I think at this point, I'm going to transition back over to Mary or Julie and see if we had any questions come in, and we'll try to deal with those.
Great, thanks, David. I do not see any questions for you that have been posted so far. If anybody does have any questions for David, please post those real quick so he can get those answered for you, and maybe he'll stay on for just a couple minutes to see if any questions come in.
Yeah, I'm good on time, so I can stay for a little bit.
Perfect. Thank you. And David, we appreciate you joining us today and sharing all of that excellent information, and to help everybody hopefully get prepared for retirement and be all ready.
Oh, absolutely.
Good. But now I will go ahead and change the presenters over. We have talked about your MPERS benefit. We've talked about your deferred comp benefits. Now we want to transition over and talk about your insurance benefits and how all of that works in retirement, what all options you have there. So we have Jill Cleathermos from MoDOT Employee Health and Wellness here. I will mention before I give it to her real quick, if you do have questions as Jill is going through the presentation, please post those as well. She does have a moderator on as well to answer questions for the insurance part. So Jill, welcome, and I will let you take it from here.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you, Mary. Do you see my screen okay on your side?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Hope you've been learning some great information here. Today, yes, we are going to look at benefits and what those are going to look like heading into retirement. During this presentation, Lisa has joined me. She will be the one addressing any questions during this presentation. At the end of my presentation, if there's any questions that would be addressed to the whole group, she'll do so after we complete this. So I am Jill Cleathermos. Once again, I am one of the benefit specialists here at Health and Wellness with MoDOT division. So today we are going to touch base on what our medical and prescription insurance is going to look like, dental and vision insurance, the annual leave, lump sum payout, cafeteria plan options, deferred comp, and what we can do there to help make some pre-tax savings, and then our life insurance policies. So we're going to look at all these areas in a little bit more details, and so in hopes to give you some clear understanding of how you can transition into retirement while you maintain the benefits you wish to take with you. So first of all, for our members who will be retiring under the age of 65, or may have some dependents who will be under the age of 65 and heading into the MoDOT and Patrol medical plan, and they're enrolled on the medical plan, the medical and prescription benefits, they're going to remain the same going into retirement for our members. So this means for our members who under age 65, you will have the same level of coverage as you do as an active employee. So you'll have your annual deductible, your out-of-pocket maximums, your copays. You'll have the same coverage services, the same network doctors. In this case, members will also receive new medical cards once you go into retirement. The medical premium will be deducted from your retirement pension check. Now, if the medical premium is greater than the pension amount, a member will receive a letter and a form to complete to set up manual payments. This can be done either by auto bank draft or paper check to cover that medical premium. Now, for our members age 65 or older, or may have a dependent under the medical plan who is age 65 or older, there is some differences for these members. This will require the member to be proactive and apply for Medicare Part A and Part B at least 4 months prior to retirement. So whether this is for our member or the dependent, that needs to be done prior and ready to go at the time our member is retiring to have that Medicare A and B effective. The effective date will need to be the date of the retirement of the retiree. So this is going to be important to plan and have this completed beforehand. Now for this member, the medical and prescription coverage rolls over to the United Healthcare. That's our Medicare Advantage, MoDOT, and Patrol medical and prescription plan. New insurance cards will be sent to the Medicare member and will list all your medical and pharmacy and your Medicare information all on one card. Medicare member will have a new deductible, and that will be $250. That will start the month of the retirement when this coverage is effective. Medical premiums will be deducted from the retiree pension check as well. Now, more information on our Medicare Advantage plan. I do encourage our members to visit our website. It's listed here on the bottom of the screen, www.retiree.uhc.com/MODOT-MSHP. Now, thinking about our medical premium, how this will be effective, for any of our non-Medicare retirees, they will face an increase to their premium. Now, how much of an increase depends on a total number of years of service at the time you decide to retire. So let's look at how to calculate this. As a non-Medicare premium, we look at the total years of service to the department that our member has, multiply 2%, multiply the total premium of the medical plan, and this will give us our discount amount. Next, we'll take the discount amount and then we subtract it from the total premium, and this is the retiree medical monthly premium. Now keep in mind, 50% is the max the department will pay toward our retiree medical premium. Now listed here on the screen, we do have a few examples. This is a PPO member who may have either 15 years of service, 20 years of service, 25 years of service. We have it listed as subscriber only and as an option as subscriber spouse. Now, as you see, there's the total premium listed there. And then next to it is the subscriber cost. So if you have 25 years of service and you're retiring under the subscriber and spouse, both being non-Medicare members, then your premium with 25 years of service is going to be the $814. Now, if you wish to calculate how this looks for you, I do recommend to explore our premium calculator that we have on our employee benefit webpage. This is a great tool. This helps our members figure out what their monthly retiree premium will look like according to the specifics to that particular member. So whether you're retiring non-Medicare or whether you have a Medicare spouse or vice versa, all those are options that you can be able to use to help calculate this. Now, if you prefer to call the local insurance rep or a benefit specialist, we are always happy to help you. So feel free to make contact with us. One key thing I do want to remind you, the backdrop does not count towards your years of service. So your premium is not going to be rounded up as well. So if you are retiring and it tells us that you have 22 years and 10 months of service, we are closing you out with 22 years of service. So keep that in mind as well. We cannot take those months and round it up. Now for our 2025 retirees who retire and have given 20 or more completed years of service to the department, and they are going to be Medicare eligible. The Medicare premium will be no cost to our members if you have completed 20 or more years of service. For members who retire with less than 20 years of completed service, The medical premium for our Medicare retiree is going to be based on that 2% subsidy per years of service. So checking out our online premium calculator does help our members to look at how this premium rate would be for our Medicare population. Now keep in mind, you will need to be enrolled on Medicare A and Medicare B. Medicare A has no premium cost to our member, but our member will have a premium for that Medicare Part B through Social Security. Now, to be eligible for medical and prescription coverage as a retiree, first of all, you must be enrolled on the medical insurance while you're actively employed prior to your retirement date in order to carry this coverage into retirement. Now, once you retire, you may stay enrolled on the medical plan to continue this coverage. If you choose to cancel this policy, whether it be at the time of your retirement or after, you are not able to come back. This is a permanent decision that you will make. Now, we do have one exception I would like to touch base on, and that is for our retirees who have active military coverage. When you go into retirement with MoDOT or Patrol, once your military service ends, then and only then can you reinstate your medical insurance as a retiree. You will need to notify us prior to your military discharge to get reinstated, and you will have 60 days from the military separation to complete this process. Now, another thing I would like to talk about is loss of coverage. If you're currently enrolled on your spouse's medical plan and your spouse encounters a total loss of coverage due to either termination of employment or the employer stops making contribution to your medical premium, the retiree does have 60 days from the event to enroll on the MoDOT and Patrol medical plan. Now, if you experience this, you will need to contact your insurance rep to make this election, and this is time sensitive. So if you are not currently enrolled on the medical coverage as an active employee and you wish to have this coverage as a retiree, I recommend that you plan ahead. Make this election at our next full medical open enrollment period. Medical open enrollment for our active employees, remember, is held in October every other year during the odd number of years. So with this in mind, our next full medical open enrollment will be this October of 2025, and then not again until 2027. Now keep in mind, you cannot enroll for the medical coverage at the time you retire and that when you're meeting with your insurance rep. The only changes that you can make at that time is where you can remove a dependent or you can choose to cancel your medical coverage. Now, as far as coverage for your dependents, to go into retirement and have this coverage for your dependents, they must be enrolled on the medical plan prior to your retirement, or you can face a qualifying event to add them into retirement. So yes, qualifying events still apply during retirement, letting our members add a dependent. So whether you face marriage, birth, or adoption, you will need to be in contact with your insurance rep as soon as possible. There is a 31-day window to elect this coverage from the date of the event to be able to add your dependent. Now, for members who don't have the dependent currently enrolled on the medical plan, while you're actively enrolled and you wish to have that dependent listed under your medical plan going into retirement, this is going to be needing to be proactive on your part and plan ahead and make that election during the next medical open enrollment of October 2025 to have it ready for 2026. Especially important if our member will have no qualifying events to take place to be able to add this dependent, you will need to plan this according to the next big medical open enrollment. Now, as far as our members who are enrolled on the high deductible health plan, this plan, you can take this into retirement with you as long as you or your dependents are not Medicare enrolled. So our members who must be under the PPO medical plan January of the year in which you or maybe one of your dependents will be Medicare eligible. So with remaining on the high deductible health plan as a retiree, you can continue contributions towards your health savings account, your HSA, from your pension check. But just keep in mind that the employer contribution to the HSA will stop. Now, as a retiree, you can switch during your retiree years. Every October, you can switch from the high deductible to the PPO and vice versa. This will be effective January 1st of the following calendar year. But keep in mind, you must do that to go to the PPO plan and have that ready January of the year in which you are Medicare eligible. Now, another fact, once you are in retirement, and if you choose to terminate the medical plan, this election is permanent. There is no open enrollment for our retirees to be able to re-enroll on the medical plan. Now, any members, if you have dependents listed under your medical plan, and at the time of your passing, if your dependents wish to continue this medical plan, they can do so as a survivor. For your dependents to do this, they will need to contact your local insurance rep to report your death, complete the survivor enrollment form, submit to the insurance rep within 31 days of your passing, pay monthly premium, and then your dependents will continue the medical coverage as long as they meet this eligibility guidelines. And that's meaning that your children can stay until they're age 26, and then they'll be termed off. Now, Missouri Consolidated Healthcare Plan is our administrator for the dental and the vision. To have the dental and or the vision insurance as a retiree for you and your dependents, this will require being enrolled prior to your retirement date in order to receive this benefit, and you must be retiring with the benefit from MPERS. If you or your dependents are not currently enrolled on the dental and the vision, and you wish to have this benefit going into retirement, our members must make this election during the MCHCP's open enrollment period by directly logging onto their website. And their open enrollment period is October 1st to October 31st of every calendar year. And this will be effective January. And this will need to be effective the January of the year in which you wish to retire. Now, members who have a certificate of 12 months of continuous dental and or vision insurance coverage, members may elect state dental and vision at the time of retirement, and you can make this election. You will just talk to your insurance reps to do so. Now, once you are a retiree, there is no open enrollment for this election for dental and vision. So it is very important to plan ahead and have that ready to go prior to your retirement. Now, for your dependents to have dental and vision coverage after your passing, your dependents can continue this coverage. They will be listed as a survivor, and they will need to notify Missouri Consolidated within your 31 days of your passing in order to continue this coverage. Your children can continue this coverage until they turn age 26. And they will need to be able to pay that monthly premium as well. Now, as a retiree, dental benefits do remain the same, and there's no change to the premium rate. So the rate listed here remains the same, and this is the monthly rate. Now, Missouri Consolidated, the vision plan, the benefits do remain the same, but you will see a slight increase to the premium for a retiree. So there is a slight increase that you'll see. So you can look at what category applies to you and then look at that retiree rate that I have listed here for you. Now at retirement, the cafeteria plan does offer some tax saving options for our members, and I would like to take a moment to address how this can help you save on some tax options. So members who prepay all medical, dental, and or vision insurance premiums pre-tax through the end of the calendar year in which you retire, or members can pre-fund the flexible spending account through the remainder of the year in which you retire, giving you access to continue claiming qualifying expenses once you retire. So by doing this, you will have a tax savings about 25 to 35% on your premium amounts that are withheld, and it all depends on your tax bracket. Now, to be able to do this, you can two ways. You can prepay from your last few active paychecks, or you can pre-fund this premiums or the flexible spending cafeteria plan through your unused annual leave lump sum payout. Now keep in mind, if you elect a January 1st retirement, members cannot make election to participate in the cafeteria plan, nor can they add a dependent to the insurance during that month of October open enrollment, because this will be effective January. Therefore, you will have to work in the month of January to have this coverage effective. Therefore, you can retire February 1st. So keep in mind, if you make a cafeteria plan election for the flexible spending or that limited scope, so it depends on which account, if you have the PPO or the high deductible health plan, you do not pre-fund your cafeteria plan account, this will close the last day of the month you retire. In this case, member must have qualifying expenses as well as submit claims to ASI for the amount that you had funded at this time prior to the last day of retirement month. Otherwise, member will lose the balance that is on the account. Now, when a member pre-funds a flexible spending account for the rest of the calendar year in which the member retires, either through the last active paychecks or through the annual leave, and our member carries that Visa cafeteria card, the Visa card, that card will turn off, become deactive the day of your retirement. Therefore, members who pre-fund this account will need to pay from the personal account, then submit a claim directly to ASI website or the mobile app, and then ASI will directly refund the member either through the direct deposit or a mail check, depending on how you have that set up. Now, how much a member can pre-fund the premiums or the flexible spending account through the cafeteria, it all depends on how many unused annual leave hours remain, plus your gross wage, and this is what determines your lump sum payout. Now let's keep in mind there is a max number of unused annual leave hours plus a max number of comp time hours. This is federal and state joined together that we can pay you out. So the annual leave accrual limit is based on your completed years of service. So let's look at this. Members who have less than 10 years of completed service and they are heading into retirement, your annual leave accrual limit is going to be 240 hours. Now, members who retire between 10 and 15 years of completed service, your annual leave limit of payout will be 288 hours. For those members who retire with 15 years of service, 336 hours is the max for the lump sum payout. Now, as for the unused comp time, max hours to be paid out is going to be a total of 244, and this combines federal and state comp time hours that are on the books. Now, this lump sum payout will be a direct deposit into your account. This deposit will appear on the last day of the month in which you retire. Now, keep in mind too, if you have above these hours, one thing that you can do is you can donate to Share Leave any unused annual leave hours. Another tax savings I want to share is members does have the choice to deposit part of their annual leave lump sum payout pre-tax into their deferred compensation account. Regardless of how much you pre-fund or transfer to deferred comp, you will be paying taxes on your annual leave payout. In addition, we're not able to pre-fund your lump sum. In addition, let's think, not able to pre-fund your total lump sum payout. So you will need to have a certain dollar amount on there for a payout. We cannot take that to a complete zero amount for your payout of your annual leave hours. Now, if you have any questions regarding the cafeteria plan and how you can take advantage of tax savings, I recommend contacting your insurance rep or call the benefit office at 863-9406 and speak to one of us benefit specialists, and we will always be happy to address how this would look for you. We are happy to help you walk through any of your options. So we understand that retirement is unique to each member. So don't hesitate to inquire, ask questions, and let us talk this out with you so we can help you make the best decisions. The last area I would like to address is life insurance and how this will look at retirement. So first of all, with state paid, the basic life insurance, we nickname it state paid. This policy is 100% funded by the department. This policy is equal to 1 times your annual salary. This coverage will terminate the end of the last month you work, therefore no longer effective once you retire. If you wish to continue this policy and carry it into retirement, you may apply about 3 to 4 months prior to or not more than 31 days after your termination, and you would need to make direct contact with them to make that portability option. Members who purchase dependent child care through the optional life, I want you to know that this policy will terminate upon your retirement as well. Now, as far as the optional life, let's look at this policy for you members who are eligible to retire under the 2011 plan. If you are currently invested in the optional life as an active retiree, as an active employee, this particular policy you are able to take straight into retirement with you. So if you are currently taking 6 times your annual salary, you can take that into retirement with you, but just know that once you turn age 62, or if you're retiring age 62 or higher, this purchase amount will reduce to $60,000, and then that will be the amount that you can take into retirement. You are able to choose a lower amount as well. So any of our members who may carry like the minimal purchase amount of 15, you can continue to do that. Now, any of our members of retiring with the 2011 who are not currently enrolled on the optional life as an active employee, and you would wish to have this policy into retirement, this will require you to make this election, apply. Can't make the election, you have to apply. It's an application 4 months prior to your retirement, if not sooner. There is a few steps you'll want to make contact with your insurance rep or contact the benefit department, and we'll be happy to give you directions on how to complete this application. Now, this will require you to do a health assessment, and once this is completed, it is sent into the company. The company will have the right to approve or deny your application. Now, one thing to keep in mind is this application has to be completed and active prior to your retirement. Then we can take that and move it into a retirement plan for you. Now, some facts about the optional life heading into retirement. Once you terminate your policy, this is permanent, for you are not able to re-enroll once you cancel this. You can decrease your purchase amount at any time during retirement. You just cannot increase your purchase amount. So this is a permanent decision. Going from active rate and going into retirement, you will face a premium increase for that category. And it will continue to increase every time you turn the 5th number of age. So that will continue as well. Now, your monthly premium will be automatically deducted directly from your pension check from MPERS due to the fact that this is a MoDOT and Patrol sponsored plan. Any of our members who have optional life and they have carry it for their spouse coverage, this spouse coverage can continue when you go into retirement. The spouse purchase amount cannot exceed the amount that you hold for yourself. At the time of your death, the spouse can convert the optional life policy as long as it is made within 31 days of your death. Otherwise, the spouse policy will terminate. For your spouse to make this transfer to individual policy, your spouse will need to contact your insurance rep or the benefit department, and will need to be done within that 31 days of your passing to make this change to a private plan for her or for your spouse. Now, members who have the universal life policy with Trustmark, or are members who have the Allstate Universal Life, or if you carry the Central United Life or the cancer insurance policies, these are all policies that you can take into retirement, but it will require you to make manual payments to the company, plus contact the agency directly a few months prior to retirement to complete this step to have this benefit. We do not have enrollment forms for you to do this. This isn't something your insurance reps or the benefit specialist can help you with. You will need to make that election yourself. MoDOT employees who carry the voluntary life insurance when you retire, this retirement benefit to take with you, this policy will only allow you to retain either $2,000, $5,000, or $10,000. You cannot keep the same amount that you have. And you will make this election at the time of your retirement when you meet with your insurance rep or your benefit specialist. Now, keep in mind, if you decide to terminate this, you are not able to re-enroll on this policy. Now, if you carry this coverage for your spouse and children, that will terminate at your retirement. You are only able to keep the coverage for yourself. To continue this coverage, you will require manual payments directly to the company, for the premiums cannot be deducted from your pension. Now, if you have this policy, your insurance rep will help you in completing this step, taking this policy into retirement, or making the election to cancel. To keep this coverage, you are required to complete a bank draft form, so your monthly payments will go directly to Arch Brokerage in order to be successful transition from active to retiree. If you have any questions regarding this, you feel free to call Arch Brokerage at the number that I have listed here on the slide, 314-849-6363, and choose option 107, or extension 107, sorry. Now, our patrol employees who carry the BMA MetLife insurance when you retire, the max purchase amount that you can take into retirement is $50,000. Now, once you turn age 70, your purchase amount will decrease to a $25,000 policy. To continue this coverage, this will require a manual payment directly to BMA MetLife. If you carry the spouse and dependent coverage, you can continue that coverage also going into retirement. For those who have this policy, your insurance rep will help you in completing the step. So you can take this policy into retirement, or you can make the election to cancel. A few things to think about as you prepare to go into retirement. Some things that kind of come to mind here. Long term, you may want to ask yourself, who do I want on my medical coverage? Make sure you're proactive, get that planned out. Look at when the open enrollment is versus when your retirement date is, and make some notes to be prepared for that. Another thought here, will my spouse, you need to think about, will I or will my spouse be 65 and Medicare eligible, or will they be older at the time I retire? If that's the case, you really need to do some planning and be proactive and get that Medicare A and B. And I will suggest that you make that election 4 months prior to your retirement. In doing so, keep in mind, going into retirement, from active to retirement, our medical premiums are paid 1 month in advance. So when you meet with your benefit or insurance rep, we will be meeting to be ahead of time to meet that deadline, because we need to complete your forms, send it to payroll, and have that ready for that payroll the month before you retire. So to do Medicare A and B, to have that ready, about 2 months prior to that, you're going to need to be proactive and get that A and B. Medicare A is in apple, Medicare B is in boy. Our medical plan does cover the Medicare Part D, which is the prescription coverage. So you do not have to apply anything for Medicare D as in David, so only A and B. So have that ready, have your insurance card ready to go when you're meeting with your insurance rep or your benefit specialist, so be able to get that enrollment completed and transferred over to a Medicare status going forward. Now, another thought to kind of think about, to talk over, some of our members, if your spouse is an employee of MoDOT or Highway Patrol, and you are still actively working, let's say both of you work for the department and one chooses to retire, what we can do is at the time of the retirement, let's say the spouse who works for Highway Patrol is retiring and is retiring with 25 years. Then the spouse who is working for MoDOT is going to continue to work. In this particular case, because we're all under the same agency, the same medical plan, our Highway Patrol retiree will work with the insurance rep, and we can actually terminate and move you over to your spouse's medical plan. So the MoDOT member would work with their insurance rep or benefit specialist to add the spouse to the active MoDOT medical plan, and then the patrol will terminate your coverage because you're going to move over to the active plan as a spouse. Now, moving forward, let's say 5 years later, the MoDOT employee is ready to retire. Let's say that MoDOT employee only has 15 years of service, where the spouse, who is a Highway Patrol retiree who has 25 years of service. What we can do then for our MoDOT employee who's retiring, then we can actually terminate that medical plan, and then the Highway Patrol retiree spouse will have a completed medical enrollment form to go back to the policy, and that MoDOT or the Highway Patrol retiree will become the subscriber, and then carry the MoDOT spouse as a dependent under the Highway Patrol plan, because that member carries 25 years of service, therefore the premium will be less. So we can do those kind of changes at the time of retirement, but I do suggest be in communication with your insurance rep or your benefit specialist, whether you're out there at the troops or you're in the districts. Talk this over so we can get that planned out. That's some of the key information to communicate with. This concludes my presentation on how your benefits would look going into retirement and some of the things you need to think about and plan out. If you have any questions arise, I advise that you do contact your local insurance reps out there in the districts or the troops regarding what your benefits would look like going into retirement, because we are the ones that are going to help you complete these forms. So it's so important. I can't stress enough the importance of being in communication with your insurance rep throughout that final year of employment. Especially important to make contact within 4 months prior to retirement. You know, even if you haven't chose a date or have submitted any steps with MPERS, be in contact with your rep. By sharing this in your intent to retire with this benefit specialist or insurance rep, this opens communication up. Then we can start talking to you about what your elections, what you wish to have for your elections. We can help you to complete this step and be successful from going from active to retirement. So then about a month and a half prior to retirement, remember you're going to meet with your insurance rep once again to finalize all your elections and all your enrollment forms. Now, like I said, medical premiums are paid to the month in advance, so this will need to be completed and reach that payroll deduction cutoff date, so you can have that correct deduction on your last active paychecks to cover for that new retiree premium. Now, feel free to call our benefits department anytime with any questions that may come to mind. Once again, our number is 877-863-9406. We are always happy to help. One final note, I do encourage you to take time to plan. Take time to look ahead. Think about what you want your retirement benefits to be. Your retirement benefits are unique to you, and we want to help this to be a successful step for you from employment to retirement. So these decisions have a lifelong impact on your retirement. So let your insurance reps help you make these correct decisions that will best fit you going into retirement. I want to thank you for your time with us today. Thank you for your service to the department. Let's check in with Lisa and see if she has any questions that she would like to share with the group.
No, there were not many questions this time.
All right, thanks, Lisa. I appreciate that. Mary, thank you so much for having our group with you today. I hope this helps address any questions and help get some food for thought for all of our members thinking about retirement. I hope everybody stays safe and have a great year of 2025. Thank you, everyone.
Great. Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Lisa, for hanging out with us this afternoon. So that does conclude everything for today for our webinar. We hope you've got some good information to get you thinking about your retirement, get you planning for everything. Remember the survey that you're going to receive as we end the webinar, if you can take it today, or if you can take that survey whenever you get the reminder in the next few days, we would appreciate that. Remember, a copy of this webinar will be posted online, so you can always go back and review it. If you need to refresh anything or maybe go back and make some notes, you can pause and fast forward as needed to if you go and review it again. So that takes care of everything. Please remember, if you do have questions, reach out to one of your benefit providers so we can answer any questions for you, help you get you to retirement. So I will leave the posting up for just a minute in case you need to download any of the link to the deferred comp handout that is there in the handouts. Otherwise, take care, stay safe out there, and we will see you when you retire.